After recently releasing the Missile Command core, Jimmy Stones used the information he learned from that core to fix the trackball support for Centipede. Very important to have great trackball support on that game, since it was made for trackballs. The fix is now available if you update your MiSTer. Also, Jimmy Stones is revisiting the Sega/Gremlin Z80 core. He was previously stuck on that core for a while, but was able to fix the issue that was holding him up. This core should run many early 80s arcade games developed under the Sega/Gremlin brand. Gremlin was an early game developer which Sega had purchased. Currently, the only MiSTer FPGA arcade game that I'm aware of that relies on the SegaGremlin core is Blockade. I also provide a link in the description that talks about the history of SegaGremlin and lists many games they developed if you want to see what other games would be possible with this core. Vertec started to continue work on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles core and posted a few teaser screenshots. One screenshot showed the title screen and the TMNT logo garbled, and the next screenshot showed a fixed logo. Another screenshot was posted later that also showed the logo garbled, so you would think that something might be going wrong with development. However, someone replied on the post mentioning that the screenshot shows a quirky vertical timing being reproduced correctly. Pierco has done enough progress on the simulation for Cosmo Police Galivan to start turning it into a MiSTer core. On the MiSTer core, foreground and priority is wrong and BRAM usage is 100%, which is not a good thing. The issues eventually got fixed and Pierco is planning a Patreon release soon. Also, if you're curious about the status of Pierco's Rodland core, after Galivan is done, he will get back to Rodland. And for you Analog Pocket owners out there, Pierco just received one. It would be really cool to see his Game & Watch core on it. There's been improvements to the Truxton II core thanks to help from Pamad, who also works on the Rising core. The Track 17 now considers it better than beta, so try it out now for a great shooter experience. A cool addition is a 31 kHz toggle for some CRT users. There are a lot more updates and the Track 17 has a good public Patreon post that goes into detail about all the updates, so go check it out. And while you're there, consider subscribing to the Patreon too. The core hasn't been released yet, but you can obtain the beta from the project's GitHub. Darren O has given some updates to the Ikari Warriors 3 core. A Twitter post shows some decoded sprites. Another post shows the core loading with a text layer working. This helps bring up the arcade game's built-in self-test so Darren O can see if any memory access is messed up. On September 1st, the PlayStation Core celebrated 1 year of development. I never imagined that we will have such an excellent core so soon. The pace of development has been so impressive and Robert Pipe deserves a lot of credit, so consider subscribing to his Patreon to show appreciation. Robert also gave an update on improvements. The CPU instruction cache can now fetch incomplete cache lines. What does that mean for us mere mortals? Well, the PAL versions of Spyro 2 and 3 are now working. And all the improvements and updates done to the core over the past weeks are now available to all users by updating your MiSTer. Games known to be improved by this release are Spyro 2 and 3, Red Asphalt USA, Next Tetris, Tom and Jerry PAL, Loaded, Feta 2, GTA PAL, Kuketuji Ichizoku 2, Suiko Enbu, Battle Arena Toshinden, and Open BIOS. The development for the Neo Geo Pocket core just got some major help. Bottego hired an engineer to work on the Neo Geo Pocket full-time, and they will also help with other CPU-related tasks for other hardware. A reminder that if Bottego reaches 4,000 Patreon subscribers, he will be able to hire another engineer to help with other cores such as The Simpsons, CPS3, Mortal Kombat, and Virtua Fighter. The IREM M72 Core has been officially released. The games you can currently play with this core are R-Type, Ninja Spirit, Image Fight, Gallop Armed Police Unit, Legend of Hero Tamna, Mr. Heli, Air Duel, Dragon Breed, X Multiply, and a quick release of the core added support for Hammering Harry. That's a quite cool list of games to be added at once for MiSTer. Update your MiSTer now to play them. theypsilon, who's the creator of the amazing Update All script, is giving all users a way to contribute to the MiSTer project. He wanted to democratize the creation of new custom databases so that not only programmers or very tech-savvy people can publish and maintain their own. A recent update now fulfills that goal, and anyone can now add a custom database to the MiSTer downloader. Just what is possible with the custom databases? Well, you can create a database that will download homebrew ROMs for consoles and computers, a database for PDF manuals of the games, background music scripts, and so much more. Theypsilon has a Patreon post giving more details and instructions on how to add these custom databases. If you have any ideas of creating your own custom database and it gets enough interest from the community, Theypsilon will even consider adding it as a standard database to the Update All script. Fandango just released a new core for an early Japanese console called the PV1000. This console lasted less than a year in the market and only had 13 games total. A new core for the obscure Pokemon Mini Nintendo handheld is now available. Released in 2001, it was a simple handheld themed around the Pokemon media franchise. It had interchangeable cartridges, but the games were very simple, a lot simpler than original Game Boy games. Raki has made their Psychic 5 core available to the public. The game was developed by NMK and published by Jaleco. It's a platformer action game that features hovering as an important game mechanic. You can download it from GitHub and manually install it to your MiSTer FPGA. Besides this core, Raki is also working on a Nemesis core that you can also download a beta for. Other games that are being worked on now are more Konami GX400 games. This is the hardware that ran Nemesis. Konami Bubble System. Some other games being planned are Sega hardware games like the New Zealand Story, Chelnov/Karnov, Darius 3-screen version, Darius 2, 3, and 2-screen versions, Title F3 based games, Raystorm, and more. Support Raki on Patreon to help with the future development of these cores. Track 17 has released a test core for Snow Bros. 2 on a public Patreon post. This game used very similar hardware to Truxton II, so it wasn't difficult to add. Download the core from the Patreon post and copy the files to your MiSTer FPGA. Also mentioned on the Patreon post are the future goals for the Toaplin 2 core. The planned updates for that core will help get the following games working: Whoopee, Fix 8, Batsugun, and Dogyun. If you enjoy reading technical info, on the Patreon post, Track 17 also talks about the details on how Snow Bros. 2 was added. It's a really good read. Another miscellaneous MiSTer fixes and updates are, for the Rising core, compatibility for more SD-RAM modules were added. Track 17 helped with testing. There are also some fixes for audio in Sorcerer Striker and Kingdom Grand Prix. Some timing fixes and more SD-RAM compatibility. There's an update for developers. This developer update added 2 build profiles, a development profile that will build in 8 minutes for quick testing, but timing constraints are not 100% met. The second profile is for production builds that will be used for official releases. Some more sound improvements were made for Sorcerer Striker and Kingdom Grand Prix that involved the YM synth volume. The sprite lag implementation was made to be more generic, and MRAs were moved from the ROM directory to the releases directory in the GitHub page. For the PCXT core, the 8253 timer was fixed by Kitsune-san. Scan lines are now working in MDA mode thanks to Somhai. Overscan delays were reworked. There's a border feature for CGA/Tandy mode, and there was an overscan/color fix for Tandy mode. That's it for other updates. Please also try to support Sorge, the maintainer of the MiSTer project, and other MiSTer developers and contributors on support platforms such as Patreon and Ko-fi. Their hard work allows us to enjoy this amazing project. So that's it for this episode. I provided links to all my sources in the description. Make sure you also check out RetroRGB.com to see my MiSTer news videos in blog form and to get more retro-related content. And if possible, support them on Patreon too. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button and its bell icon so you can get notified of future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.